a very special guest waiting in the wings here. I'm very excited about. Ali, you can bring him in. The homie, one of the OGs, one of our main followers, all the way from Serbia. The homie Miroslav. What's happening?
Double down from Serbia.
How's it going, man? Good to see you.
Pretty good. I just isolated myself from my kids 2 doors behind, so hopefully the sound will not break here.
Oh boy, that was 4 years and some change ago. What a ride. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 100 of the longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast in the world. Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. Eat your heart out online with D-Line. My name is Miroslav, and if you're watching on YouTube, you just saw my first appearance on the DNBA Show a bit more than 4 years ago, and I'm going to paint you a picture of how that happened. I remember it vividly as it was a big deal for me at the time. It was the pandemic, so the DNVR guys needed to find a way how to fill out 5 hours of podcasts about Nuggets per week, while the NBA and the whole world really stopped completely. Back then, it was a big deal to be a part of the DNVR Discord, and it still is. If you're a DNVR diehard, you should join the Discord. It's basically Nuggets Twitter with a slightly more composed group of people involved. Anyway, one way to create content during the pandemic was to call Discord members to come on the show, wax poetic a bit about the Nuggets, and then play the steps, a legendary trivia game with questions so hard the games from summertime Serbian Corner game shows looked like walk in the park. The show was starting at noon, which is 5 p.m. in Serbia, just about the time when my walks with my youngest boy, Jovan, who was still in a stroller, would end before the bubble bath time. I remember listening to the show on my phone and thinking, hey, if I hurry up, I can set up my laptop and join the show. I explained to my wife she needed to watch the kids for a couple of minutes while I'm on the internet with some Americans, and more on that in a second. Let me introduce my guests for today. You know them pretty well. They are on this channel relatively often. Let me introduce them in no particular order. Let's start with the sleep-deprived guy, Eric. D-Line.
Oh, my.
So you are sharing my nervousness about the Nuggets' approach to the offseason so far, but I'm guessing it is multiplied by the 8 time zones you crossed yesterday, or was it today? What is time? What is space?
It's good. There's a lot of Nuggets moral relativism and time just actual relativism going on with me right now. Now I'm not loud enough. Okay. Well,
I fixed it. No, I fixed it.
Yeah, dude. I just got back from Serbia. I am on Serbian Corner in America, having just returned from the corner of the world that is Serbia, and I couldn't be more dismayed about all of it. It's terrible. I don't want to be back even a little bit.
Well, it is what it is. Let me put him in the bottom corner. It is Brendan Vogt. How is your sleeping schedule these days, B-Dog?
Oh, it's great. I don't have kids. My fiance is not in Serbia. The Denver Nuggets are not playing basketball. I'm glad you asked, Miroslav. I sleep wonderfully these days.
Take that, D-Line. Okay, and lastly, the head honcho himself, although not on this show, it's Adamares.
This is how you came into your first show, kind of this posture right here. So I'll match it. Hey, what's up, man? Good to be on your show. Am I on camera right now?
So, since you've been on that first show 4 years ago, and it's probably had like 200 views total, like not a lot of people watched back then during the pandemic. Do you remember anything, any detail from that show?
People that have watched our show over the years know this. I mean, Vogt and Eric know this for sure. I don't remember anything about anything. I honestly barely remember the championship season. Everything runs together for me. So absolutely not. You play that clip, zero recollection of that episode.
So I'm going to just give you a couple of things about it. So the interview part went pretty smoothly, apart from my accent being even more Rade Sherbedžija-esque than
I
today.
noticed
Yeah,
But-
that's who I would have reminded it of. Yeah.
But there was a second guest on the show who joined in the third segment, and it was Darwin, the Nuggets Reddit legend. He was my wingman for the steps since he already played that game before that. Does that ring any bells? Of course not. I started playing steps, got 3 or 4 answers right, and then my battery died. I forgot to plug my laptop into the electrical receptacle. I'm using these words just to make Brendan laugh. By the way, he finds it hilarious when I use to describe stuff. Anyway,
Such a pro.
wingman saved me while I turned my computer back on and answered a couple of questions for me. And as soon as I came back, my computer died again.
Oh
Because-
god.
It was so far away from the spot I had both good Wi-Fi and was far enough from my loud kids that the plug just got unplugged. So Unplugged is great for Eric Clapton concert, but not for amateur podcasting. Anyway, I came back and lost the game because it was Harrison who made the trivia questions, and he used to be evil. You remember that,
I do
right?
remember this. I do remember that, like, depending on what day you got on the steps, you were either going to get all of them right or like 3 right. And
No,
and
only-
that was bested.
Only like what 2 guys ever got all of them.
Yeah. They
No, it
became
was just like how
impossible mode.
It was how far you got. It was like you would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like you'd coast through, and then there would just be a question that literally no person knows. So it's an unknowable question. Like, we were giving stuff away, Miroslav. We were a young company
Yeah.
back there. We could just be handing out stickers left and
true.
right.
Yeah.
I need to pressure you into restarting the steps again during summertime. Like, come on, guys! Like
I agree.
It's a long
mix,
offseason.
mix it up with snake drafts. Like,
We skip steps, dude.
and the Nuggets are skipping some steps too. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get back to not skipping steps, and it's pretty painful. But okay, so let's just do some small resume of what happened in the last 10 days or so. So the Nuggets let KCP walk, salary dumped Reggie Jackson and lost 3 second-round picks to do it, drafted Deron Holmes by trading up, and leaked that they're signing DeAndre Jordan to another 1-year deal. Still no official news on Vlatko Čančar, even though we heard Calvin Booth went to Europe. I'm guessing to either look the buildings that are older than 100 years or resign our longest tenured bench guy. It seems they are not interested in resigning Justin Holiday. We've heard some serious rumors about Russell Westbrook coming to Denver, but still nothing official yet. And a small ball 5 coming to scratch the itch the Nuggets need, if you catch Harrison's drift. Like, why are we still dancing around that name? Are we still dancing around that name? No comment.
No comment.
Because Twitter is all over. Okay, it's okay. So I've mentioned all of the moves, and we're gonna play a little game called 1, 2, 3. Let me put in this wonderful graphic. So
It's not
Harrison-
as simple as it sounds, folks. You might think this sounds very intuitive, but that's
Yeah.
not. That's not how
Harrison was
Miroslav
supposed
does.
to
God.
be on the show. Who knows? Maybe,
Look at
maybe
this.
he'll
Hold
come
on.
back.
Hold on. The greatest part about this is whatever software you use
It's so great.
erased Adam, Harrison, and Brendan's teeth.
That's
And
right.
now
Yeah, that's
Harrison.
That's right.
Brendan looks like he's wearing makeup, which is great. And Harrison looks like he's toothless. This is incredible. I look great.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. I don't know why it didn't erase your you probably did something to your avatar, man. You knew what's coming. Okay, so game of 1, 2, 3. So when I was a
I
kid,
can't believe you made that graphic.
It's the best.
it's
It's
you
the
know
best.
the graphics. Come on, and it's in Comic Sans. Okay, so when I was a kid 80 years ago, we used to play with little toy cars. We would draw a racing track on the sidewalk and then race by pushing our cars 3 times per turn, being careful not to step out of bounds. So we would say 1, 2, 3 after every push. I don't have any toy cars for you guys today, but we're going to play this game by giving a grade for each individual move the Nuggets made this offseason and sum all of them up to see what grade this late June and early July should get. I know this sounds confusing, but when I tell you the grades are not between 1 and 5 plus, which would be normal, they're going to be -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, or 3. So if you think a movie is terrible, horrible, you will give it the -3. If it's like a slightly negative one, you'll give it the -1. If it's a neutral or a meaningless move, you will give it a 0. And a 3 would be like trading for Luka Doncic, or let's be more realistic, Lauri Markkanen, like something like that. Okay, so, and I know we didn't trade for Lauri Markkanen, so we'll see.
My favorite early part about this is that I love that Europe and America cannot share a single unit of measure. Grades, we can't. No ABC. It doesn't matter what it is. We cannot agree on a single way to refer to a single amount of anything. It's beautiful. Let's go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so let's bring back the old presentation, this beautiful graphic, and let's start with the first move of the off season. So, trading up for Daron Holmes. So, whoever wants to start, what grade would you give to this move? Considering the cost of it.
Yeah. Adam, you should go first. We'll waterfall down the way that we're
okay. I'm going to give it a
centipede here.
I'm going to give it a 1. I think it's slightly positive. Okay. I think every year every draft pick feels like a 2 or a 3. But I think if you like step back and go, we were excited for RJ Hampton, we were excited for Bol. This one to me feels like it was a good value trade up and a good pick. But if you told me, is he going to change the overall trajectory of the Nuggets? Maybe, but probably it'll just be like, all right, that was a nice addition for like a couple years.
I'm going to give it a 2. And why a 2? Because this was the first time in my life that they actually drafted the guy that everyone expected them to draft.
And traded up.
I've never experienced this. There was something joyous about feeling like you actually knew what the front office was doing, in that they got the guy that we all thought that they were supposed to get. And do I love that the Denver Nuggets will never pick in the second round again in my lifetime? I don't love that. But I do love that they also jumped over Tim Connolly. So that was that felt good too. So I'm going to give that a 2. And I'm actually very excited for what he can bring. So 2.
I'll go to 1. Go ahead.
I was going to say, don't you guys think he has a little bones to him? Like he's doing some of the like media tour. He went to Little Man Ice Cream. Like he's got
does he like salmon?
Well, I'll have to ask him.
There's only one way to find out. Everyone would kill us if we did that, but leave Daron Holmes alone. I'll go with a 1. I like Eric's arguments for a 2. I wonder, is there a world in which it doesn't cost you 3 second-round picks if maybe all of your rivals don't know that you're making this pick? At the same time, I also like the conviction. Like there's something calming about the fact that they very much wanted this guy, and they said, let's not mess around. Conceivably, they overpaid. So I'll leave it at a 1. It's also, as much as we like Holmes and the potential fit, I think to Adam's point, it's a late first rounder. So there's just the expectations probably should be limited to begin with. This is not a home run area of the draft. And even for the role players, it's quite possible to miss. So
yeah, it's a pick number 22, and I would normally give it a 0 because like it's a late first rounder. You don't expect your team to be improved or like lessened by a first round pick that late. But since Calvin actually traded up to get his guy, and since we have a pretty good track record of his drafting, like I would say still that more than 50% of his draft picks have panned out pretty well so far, because I really believe in Julian Strother being more of a positive contribution guy had he not injured himself last season. So I'm gonna give it a +1 as well. You guys all forgot to say plus before number.
Oh, that's right.
We have negative and positive.
Don't want to confuse anyone.
Come on, guys! Like I was really in a mess for a second. Okay, so on average, we will give this move a +1. Okay, and let's take one short break before we go to question number 2. Don't go anywhere. We are back, and we are back with our beautiful presentation. Move number 2. Jesus. Move number 2, salary dumping Reggie Jackson. So I already mentioned 3 second-round picks were dumped together with Reggie to get some. Now, to be completely fair, we don't know how this trade is actually going to look like. It might, at the end, be part of a bigger trade, like maybe even Russell Westbrook could somehow get involved in this trade. But for now, we know what we know. We lost 3 second-round picks in order to dump 1 year and $5 million of Reggie Jackson. How would you grade this move, Adam?
This one is really tough for me because I think the pressures to trade Reggie Jackson were more. I don't think this was just a thing of like, we need a roster spot. I think this was probably more the real issue with Reggie Jackson was the deal that they signed and the position they put themselves in to have him on a 2-year, $10 million deal. That's the real problem here. The getting rid of him for 3 seconds, I think hands were a little bit tied in the motivations that they had. So I'm going to give it a 0 because I think it's neither positive nor negative when you think about the value of it. But the value of it to me was really influenced by their motivations to get rid of him. I think Reggie wore out his welcome here. I'll just say that. I think that there was a we can't bring this guy back next year if we want to compete. Not because of roster spots, more just because did the team feel like he fit into the locker room and culture and direction they were going?
I'm going to give it a -2. I think this was horrible. This was just a through and through. And this is an argument for them to actually be into the second apron. So they can't pick up a guy off of the buyout market in the future to then inexplicably sign him to 2 years, preemptively sign him for much too long and then have to give up 3 second-round draft picks just to get rid of him. I mean, come on, man. Like this is atrocious asset management. It is really unforgivable in a lot of ways. It shows a lack of foresight in ways that make me very nervous. And again, all we're doing is just shedding second-round draft picks. Who cares about second-round draft picks except for that, Nikola Jokic was a second-round draft pick. Monte Morris was a second-round pick. They're not completely worthless. If you are shrewd, those are very valuable assets that you can use to, build a team if you're able to be the type of person that can see things others can't. And Calvin seems to think of himself in that way. He values his guys in a way that other people don't. So I would think that second-round draft picks would be something that you covet. We also got rid of we got a second-round draft pick for Bones Highland. So I hate this move. I hated everything about this. To me, this was just having to fix a mess by making another mess. Boo from me.
Yeah, I think I'm with Eric. I'll go -2, but it's less about just this bullet point as it stands and more about maybe the process of the asset management. You get a buyout guy, by all accounts, it appears to be a wink deal, but of an overpay, it's supposed to maybe in theory help you with a trade on the back end, except things worked out to the point where he wasn't a sweetener. In fact, he was an anchor and you had to attach second-round picks to get rid of him. And, any 1 second-round pick, even any 2 second-round picks, these are things you can part with. The combination of those 2 moves, all of a sudden it's 6 now. You're down to 1 first-round pick to play with. And again, they can be overstated, the value of a second. But I really liked Eric's framing there. I don't think they were ultimately used to make the team better so much as they were to patch holes from prior mistakes.
We might think about this move differently in a couple of days. Who knows? By the way, this is not live. I forgot to mention that. So we are actually recording this on Wednesday, and you're watching this on 4th of July. By the way, happy 4th of July.
Thank
But
you.
so that means we can edit out that racial slur that Adam said earlier.
Yeah, let's cut that out.
Yeah, make sure that doesn't make it. Yeah.
We'll see if Kale's gonna want to do that on holiday day.
That's a good joke, Ed.
Having
Thanks,
said
bro.
that, here's the thing. I would normally say it's a -1 because it's like I would expect 1 second-round pick to be the cost of dumping 1 year of $5 million of Reggie Jackson, and it's 3. But on the other hand, it is tying Nuggets' hands a lot, the fact that they have no more second-round pick at all for this offseason, which is pretty damning. I mean, it's not damning if they're able to do whatever they want by just signing guys, not trading anybody, which seems to be the case and the plan right now. We'll see. I might be wrong. But still, like, they could have used those second-round picks on the trade deadline next spring. So I'm gonna have to agree and give it a -2 as well. And -6 divided by 4, that's -1.5. So I'm not gonna run it up. It's gonna be a -1.5.
Man, this is a really TV friendly system, man. This is great.
How come
for the
then?
audience.
How come then in the first one, when you guys were all a 1 and I was a 2, I wasn't a 1.25?
Yeah, but
you just completely eliminated my part.
It was 1.25, Eric, and you cannot bump that to 1.5. Like I have
I
some
see.
principles.
Yeah, be real,
Only-
man. Get real.
Only half measures here. I see. Okay.
Like, come on. No quarter measures here. Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. Third move, letting KCP walk. This is a big one.
This is an easy one for me. -3. I don't actually. I'll say -2, but just because there is a case about the long term. Denver was in a tough spot. That's what the NBA does to you when you roster build. It puts you in tough spots where no decision is like, oh, that's perfect, and there's no downside. There was a little downside to bringing him back long term and the flexibility, but nowhere near. If they had KCP right now, I just would be like, Nuggets are winning the title in 2025. It's over. Let's plan the parade. And now that they're not, the downside of what the worst scenario for this season is scary. So to me, it's a -2. I think Calvin Booth went into the offseason knowing how he felt about KCP, and everything else is window dressing. -2.
Whew. I'm of 2 minds on this. In one mind, I'm taken back to the before times where every view of the Denver Nuggets was a future view, where you had to, you obviously weren't going to win the title. So everything that you were doing was building towards a glorious future, which actually somehow happened. We somehow got there. So, but the future view is Calvin Booth is actually establishing a strategy of team building that he said explicitly he was going to be following, which was to draft guys, build them up, not rely heavily on free agency and overpayment or just heavy payment. The Nuggets have really already made their bed with where the majority of their money is going to be going. So that makes your 5th starter sort of expendable in some ways in this new world where it's like very, very punitive to go over into that second apron, which, by the way, apron is why is it called the second apron? Why isn't it called the tier or second, whatever? Anyway,
It's a good point.
I hate that terminology. It makes it seem all the more ridiculous. I think so.
It's apronists.
Because they're it's in the kitchen for wind. So then when we look at that, we are following a plan, which I like when GMs are mindful and they set plans and they follow them. And so from that standpoint, I'm like, okay, this was always going to happen. It's a bummer. But then from a vibe standpoint, it's a million, like it's a -2 million. And then from an immediacy standpoint, yes, like you're going into this next season well in the window of Nikola Jokic's prime with a lesser than roster than you had going into last season, which ultimately came up short. So you're not improving the team. You're hoping the team is improving itself, which is sort of a tenuous proposition, but not entirely unfounded and not entirely implausible. So I'm going to give it, at the end of the day, my two minds, I'm just going to give it a 0 because I need to see what Christian Brown can do. But vibes bad, future planning good, 0.
That was a roller coaster.
I know.
Just to get to 0 is perfect. I'm gonna go with -2 as well. I'm gonna go with -2. I think. I mean, I don't like it. It's bad. There's a chance Calvin Booth is right. I will leave some room in this score for that chance going forward. But it doesn't. I don't. This to me was priority list on the offseason. Keep them, and they didn't. So I can't dance around it too much. It's a -2.
It was your priority. I'm telling you, it was not Calvin's, and that's why. As people are trying to why are they doing this? What's the motivation?
Right.
It's like, guys, Cal just thinks this is the best move. It's not even. Right. He's like, he's like, no, this is best for our team, and we'll find out if he's right. I think most people think he's wrong, but if he's right, he will get to do the world's biggest. Like I told you, also.
If they win this year. And they're in this position going forward where it's a second layer of a foundation they believe in, he's sitting pretty. But I do think they have to win this year, or he's sitting ugly. Is that an expression?
Well, the sitting pretty is what I'm doing, and sitting ugly is what Adam's doing.
Honestly,
yeah, that's good.
Wait,
even if they would lose in the finals next season, I would still call that a disappointment. Yeah. Like you had the clear best team 2 seasons ago, and you did not use 2 seasons to build it back up to be the best team again.
I don't think that's fair. Winning a championship is very hard. Here's my thing. You have to be in position to win a championship. And we'll know what that looks like when it happens. But you could very well lose to a Boston Celtics team that's very good. You could lose to a very good team and say, you know what? That was a championship team. They just didn't get it done. And to be honest with you, this year, I think there's a lot of that as well. I think the team Calvin built was a championship caliber team. That they came so far has more to do with other things. And now this season is viewed through the lens of, well, that team wasn't good enough. I think the team was good enough. They won 57 games. They looked like a juggernaut for large portions of it. And then they look like total shit in the playoffs when it mattered most. And that's part of why everybody has lost their minds.
Yes, but parts were supposed to be good enough. Parts were supposed to be good enough. We know how good these guys can be. And, we know who wasn't good enough. Nobody was on the top of their games, by the way. Like, I'm not happy with either player's performance during playoffs. Like, I can give them some 2s, some 1s, but I'm not giving a 3 to anybody.
Oh, man.
But having said that, and I said this to myself, I promised this to myself, if Calvin Booth would reduce the salary volume of this team by letting KCP walk and restraining himself to only developing his young lions, I'm gonna fry him for it. I just think you cannot let to lose 2 starters from your championship starting 5 when you could have saved one of them. So I'm going to give it a -3. That doesn't make a big of a difference here because the total sum here is -7 divided by 4. It is minus to 1.75.
For the audience, make sure you're grading along at home.
So yeah, I'm going to give it a -2 as a combined grade because I make the rules. So that's where we are. Yeah, I really do think this is a -3 kind of move, and I'm not saying this to say that there's no way the Nuggets are going to win a championship this year, because they very well might. Like, if we get a top level Jamal again, that will open so much stuff for the other guys. We're going to get a much better Michael Porter. We're going to get Aaron Gordon, who is not that tired as he was at the end of series, and the same goes for Nikola Jokic. And you know what? We'll see. We'll talk about Russell Westbrook later, and that might change some stuff for this offseason. Okay, let's take one more short break, and then we'll go to some minor moves that already happened. Don't go anywhere. Okay, back to the old presentation. Now, this is really a minor move. Letting Justin Holiday walk. Do we even need to talk this through, or shall we just?
Actually, I'll give it a grade. 3 if you're trying to get some of these other people to play. Just because it rhymes, I'll say get Justin Holiday out of the way. But that's too rude. He actually played well, but I just think I think like I don't know. He already played
comparing to his games in the playoffs. Losing him, you think it's a positive thing for the Nuggets?
I actually think he played well in the playoffs. I actually think Justin Holiday did his job on that contract for this team. But the front office is committed to a path where your chance to get the best out of this group, you just play Peyton Watson as much as you can here and find out and develop.
Justin Holiday's the craziest guy because you said you'd give no threes to the playoffs. I think I might give Justin Holiday a 3. He made 3-pointers, and my expectation was that he would not and should not play. My expectation now is that he should not have played. I actually think Justin Holiday playing in the playoffs over Peyton Watson is the reason he's not here. I think Calvin Booth looked at that and was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like, that guy was not brought into play, and he played over Peyton Watson, who the future of our team depends on whether or not this guy can play or not. So I think Justin Holiday walking, I mean, it's weird to say that it's a 3 because I would love if he could be on the roster and the coach could be trusted that he has a role to play, the Ish Smith role. He wasn't, and he had to be let go. And it's just another one of these casualties of this weird Cold War. Or I shouldn't, Cold Wars, we're doing work. I think we're making this more dramatic than it is. But it's more of just the differing perspectives between the two.
And he did his job. Like, it's not a knock on him. But if you're going forward with this plan, I think this probably was a must from a Booth perspective.
And who saw this coming even going into the playoffs that Justin Holiday was going to play in every game of a round? Like, nobody, you went through the whole season thinking, okay, well, that's not a problem. And then all of a sudden you get to the biggest series and Peyton Watson's out, Justin Holiday's in. That's part of what makes it even so much more bizarre is we didn't build towards that. It just happened.
Right. And then Justin Holiday just got mercilessly switched onto guys that he shouldn't have been defending. It was like in bad situations. He was just in a bad spot. Yeah, it's like you want a guy like Justin Holiday on your team, but it is weird that it's like we are seemingly in a situation where toys have to be taken away to ensure alignment of philosophy. So there's a lot of bloodless, vibeless moves. This is the most vibeless offseason of my Nuggets tenure to this point.
Ooh,
we really need Serbia to win a gold for us.
I know, dude. We really
need it.
We're really surviving on vibe fumes over here.
We might need it more than Serbia, to be honest with you, just to restore the vibes.
Oh, no. Nobody needs it more than Serbia.
Yeah, that's not going to go over
22 years. 22 years, guys. Like, I'm not going to be happy with a silver medal. I like
Oh, my God.
Full disclosure, man.
We've
got some silver medals. It's like we had like 4 silver medals in these 22 games. 22 seasons. We needed a gold. So.
I understand. You think Dallas would be happy if they awarded them a silver trophy?
That's so true.
Who will remember Dallas being second? And they've been second only because the Western team had to go to the finals. It's obvious the Eastern teams are so much better than the Western teams. So
I've been saying that all year.
That's been my platform.
So what are the grades? Brendan said 3.
Yeah, I'm going to take it down to a 2 because 3 just feels harsh to Justin, but 2 because it was the wise move.
2 for me as well.
Okay.
0 for me. This is a total it's nothing.
Yeah, I agree. It is
right.
0.
I'm going to 0.
Great move getting rid of Holiday. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's consequential at all. Like I am kind of glad that he took Justin away so Michael Malone could not play him or the other guys. But on the other hand, some other veteran is going to be positioned there. So it's probably a wash.
There on the wing? I don't know. So that's why I mean, look, 2 makes it. You're right. 2. We can even go down to 1, but I'm going to argue it's a positive. I'm going to argue it's a
No,
positive.
you can stay at the 2 because the total sum is now +2, and that means the grade here is +0.5. Okay,
I don't even know what we're doing anymore.
we're
I
getting
don't
really,
either.
really
I have no
pretty
idea.
good here.
No idea.
Okay,
What are we
next
gonna, are we
move.
going to do something with these final totals? By the way, is there some
Yeah,
grand thing we're building?
I just
towards?
want to figure out if the final score is
Oh,
a
I
positive
see.
or a negative one.
I got
Okay,
you. Okay.
I can tell you
Resigning
the answer.
DJ. So resigning DJ is not really official, but it is announced, so we can call it official. Is this what kind of move is this?
This move is a 1. It's a positive move to me, and it's for this reason. He's a really good vet. And as much as the Nuggets needed good vets in the last 2 years, I think they really need him next year. I think Hunter Tyson's like the 6th oldest player on the team. The Nuggets are really young and inexperienced, and I just think they need a DJ. He's going to be lonely this year. Who's his, like, usually DJ has had a second vet to be a guy. Yeah, it's Jokic. It's like,
Jokic, yeah.
I don't know if DJ has anyone to hang out with or go golfing on road trips anymore, but nonetheless, it's important that he's there, and I think he'll play a pivotal role as long as Michael Malone doesn't zig on all of us and just play him 82 games like he did Reggie last year.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine? It's almost as absurd to imagine if DeAndre Jordan just played all 82 games, De'Ron Holmes never plays, and Zeke, Vlatko, maybe another guy doesn't play any minutes as well because DeAndre just keeps playing poorly.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I think that's too outlandish.
I'm gonna give this a 0 because I don't think this has any effect on the team whatsoever. It's just like Calvin announced him as the what is it? The guy, the Miami guy. What's his name?
Haslam.
Haslam, the Udonis Haslam of the Denver Nuggets. Ironic because Haslam spent his whole career with the Heat, and DeAndre Jordan just showed. We have like a transplanted, like long-term Nuggets guy, which is pretty hilarious. But everybody likes him, and he's a cool guy, and he has like a fun warm-up, and whatever. And if you find yourself up against an Andre Drummond, you have a big body guy you can throw in that can play like 10 games. But it's just like a 0. It's fine. It's like okay. All right, moving on. I do like though. I like that the only like early moves that can ever happen in the Calvin Booth era are DeAndre Jordan based moves. Like a few years ago, he was the very first signing of the free agent period, and this now, like he's the only move that's been announced for the Denver Nuggets. That's his number one priority, is making sure DeAndre Jordan's role is taken care of every year.
I'll go with a 1. I think the veteran argument is worthwhile because they are
Plus
borderline unprecedented in their
plus 1 or what is it? There's no
it's a +1. It's a +1.
Just kidding.
I'll only argue with one thing Adam said. I don't think there's a place on earth where DeAndre Jordan doesn't have any friends.
That's true.
Good
point.
I think he could be on the road. He probably has more going on than anyone else. A vibesman, but they could use it. They could use the veteran leadership if he's still providing it. He's also like, not that to say that he's not in any way. I'm just saying Adam's point is interesting. How connected will he feel to this group? Everything went right in that title year, and it's not just the basketball. Basketball wasn't even close compared to the other teams, but everyone eagerly accepted their role, and we're going to need some of these little things to go right again this year for sure.
This is how I look at it. And it's an evolution of mine. I used to be mad at signing guys like DJ to a roster space because I always said, like, you need all 15 guys to survive the long season. No, you don't. If Michael Malone is your coach, you don't need 15 guys. Like,
some guys are going to not play. Some guys have to not play.
10 guys is probably good enough, and he's not going to look at the other 5. So I think actually this is a slightly good move. I also give it a +1. It needed to be either DJ or Boban, and like I'm really happy with DJ. He has continuity. By the way, his 3rd season on the Nuggets, he's going to surpass guys like Jeff Green, not to mention Bruce Brown, who's been here for only 1 season. DJ might really become a Nuggets legend, especially if they get a really deep run. this season. So yeah, I'm going to give him a +1, and that on aggregate is going to be a +1 by all of us. Next move, final move for this segment. Let's put it up. Resigning Vlatko. Now, this is absolutely not official. Like, this is not even announced at all. But you know what, guys? Calvin Booth is in Europe, and Vlatko is in Europe, more precisely in Greece, near Athens, in Piraeus. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say that Vlatko is coming back. And you know, it's smart to get our longest tenured bench guy back on this team. First of all, do you think this is a lock, and what grade would you give it?
I don't think it's a lock. I think it's extremely likely. All the moves that I think Denver has 3 players. Vlatko, Westbrook, one other player I think they might go for. And I think all of them are close to locks, but not locks. I mean, things happen, and other teams could get a wild hair. Teams could miss out. Here's one thing I'm going to say about this offseason, because I think there's a lot of people like Calvin's in Europe, and I saw some people say, he's in Europe while free agency is going on. Guys, all teams, I don't want to break this to you, they all know everything that's going to happen before free agency begins. And sometimes some things take longer to execute, but it's not like the plan isn't already there. And that's the situation the Nuggets are in. So there's not this like Cal's like sleeping during working hours. You're like, damn it, we should have gone and got that guy. I've been sleeping, like it's not that. That being said, I think he is coming back. I think it's good. Jokic needs a guy in this upcoming season, perhaps more than any. Jokic needs a guy to be there for him that speaks his language. And on top of that, there's always a chance Michael Malone might look down and realize he has a player that can play as long as DeAndre Jordan's not playing all the games.
So your grade is?
2.
+2.
+2. I mean, 2, another way to say +2 is to say 2.
That's actually true. That's true.
It is true, Miroslav. I hate to break
I just want to be completely sure that I didn't miss some minus, because of the internet glitch or something like that. So yeah. Eli.
I love the idea that when free agency starts, like they have like 5 phones and they're just like, is he available? No, it's like a radio competition. Like I was
50 burgers, 50 hot dogs.
Is he available? Oh shit, we missed him. And also, although I do have to say, having just come back from Europe, I didn't accomplish shit when I was over there. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Calvin Booth, like we hadn't had any sightings because he's just taking in the local fare. So re-signing Vlatko. I mean, I didn't see. Did you guys actually watch the Slovenia game? How did I've not seen how he looks. Like
I missed that one actually.
Only Miroslav.
I did watch the game against Croatia. He looked good. He looked like a bit rusty, but good. He had like 12 points in that game. Catch the lob from Luka. Problem is Luka looked like shit. So the Slovenia lost by 20 points. Luka was like 4 of 16 from the field. Like he hit 2 shots under the rim and like another 2 in the paint and missed everything else. And then on defense, he wasn't moving at all. Like he was just watching.
Oh, that's just him though, Miroslav. I think that part is more.
It is, and still, like Slovenia is not Dallas. They will play some possessions with Luka off ball, and he does nothing. Like he just.
I was going to say,
and he's like, okay, like just.
He should actually.
Like, and then I'll jog back.
He should really drive that point home and just have a lit cigarette hand to him. He just blow
this is the secret sauce to all of his Slovenian success. Not everyone's built to play deep into June, baby. Not everyone has put those long runs. They're different. I
mean, Croatia is really good. They have, Zubac. They have Hezonja. They have Šarić. Šarić was actually excellent in this game. But Slovenia was bad. And Croatia lost today to New Zealand. So it's possible if Slovenia wins against New Zealand tomorrow, then every team is going to have 1 win, and it's going to be just the point differential that will determine who is left out of the Olympics.
Losing to New Zealand seems bad.
I know. I know. Right?
Maybe
It was-
they're
it
trying
was-
to throw so that Slovenia can't qualify for the
No.
semis or something. Galaxy
No.
brain.
They
Was
just
Ga-
they
was-
just played zone defense against the team that's ready to shoot 53s, and they lost on variance. Like
Jesus.
really,
Was-
really bad game plan.
Was Gandalf on that team? Was there magic involved? Okay, so I'm going to give that, presuming that he is
back on the show.
back to the show. Yes, stay tuned. Presuming he's the same player that he was prior to his injury, and he still can be the guy that we always like. Vlatko, there's like 5 guys that are just like what if guys, like that just seem like they should be good. Like what if they just got the opportunity to play? What if? And Vlatko is like squarely in that conversation. He looks incredible at times, and then will get hurt, or there'll be some other external situation that like takes away his playing time. And then anyway, if he can be the guy that we think that he is, this is a great move. 2 plus. Plus 2 plus.
The one thing I'll say about the Vlatko thing is I'm a little concerned. You're going to have Zeke, Vlatko, Holmes, and we'll just say a guy like a Dario Saric. If you have those 4 guys, the combination of who plays and who doesn't is tough because they're so flat to me. There's not a ton of separation. And on top of that, there's not that much stylistic difference. Sometimes it's easier when you have stylistic difference, but
that's true. But that could be argued as a positive in that you have a guy, just through the attrition part of the season where
that part could be good.
you have like, if you're just saying like, okay, we need this guy, this is the role we want a stretch 4. We want a guy that can be switchable. We want a guy that can pull guys out of the paint so that Russell Westbrook can just sprint 90 miles an hour into the paint every single time down. So I like it. I mean, and I love Vlatko, and I just think Vlatko's like very underutilized. I don't know if that changes, but and there's just something good about giving Jokic his buddies. Like, so to me, it's it's a 3. I'm going to go a 3. Oh, excuse me, a +3. Let's do it.
Plus 3 plus.
Plus 3 plus.
You know what? I'm going to give it a +1. And it's only because I think it's a positive move. Joker needs one of his guys next to him. You know what? I don't think he only has one guy. Like, he would be probably as satisfied with having somebody like a Micic or a Bogdanovic or a Boban on a team. So I don't think Vlatko is that important to be him. I'm glad it is him because he's been on the team for so long, and he doesn't have to go to EuroLeague and start over there. Although I'm pretty sure he would be amazing over there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a +1. Partially because it's easier for me to calculate. It's a +2 on average here. So we're going to take a short break. And after it, I'm going to tell you what is the combined grade from these 6 moves. That's the grade of the offseason so far. Don't go.
Some more math on the other side.
Okay, we are back. And in case you thought I did the math during the break, I didn't. So I'm going to do it live. So it's okay. Minus.
That was a 10-minute break. What were you doing?
Yeah, what were you doing, dude? Carry the 4.
Wait, Vogt, did you give your grade on Vlatko? Did I miss
You know what,
guys?
not. You know what's the combined grade so far? It's +1. It's +1. We have scientifically proved that the Nuggets off-season so far has been slightly good.
I don't agree,
Twitter, it's a
Slightly good.
+1, dude.
I disagree with the math.
It's science, man. It's science.
It might be hyper-inflated by a random Justin Holiday 3 and Vlatko Chanchar 3 may have thrown off the
I did force you to give those grades. Like all the moves are equally important, I guess.
We should grade it on a vibes curve and give it a 0. I think, right?
Well, I also love the idea of everything is equal in terms of how it's weighed. It's like, all right, you added Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Those were good moves, but you lost KCP. That's a bad move. It all averages out. Everything's even now. Like
you see.
No.
So science is, but we have 2 extra moves to talk about that hasn't happened yet, and we're going to try to grade them as well and combine them with +1 we already have. So back to the presentation.
Well, can I just Can I just know what Vogt's grade on Vlatko is?
So it's not bones, it's
It was a
bonus.
Wouldn't change.
One. Okay.
Yeah. So trading for or signing Russell Westbrook off the waivers. So if we're gonna get Russell Westbrook, it's gonna be either on a $3 million or a $4 million per year contract, probably one season, 1+1 maybe.
No way. I think my hunch on how it'll play out will be a buyout, and like he gets bought out of his contract and then signs on a minimum for 1 year.
Yeah, but that's
Will
it. That's $3 million. That's $3 million. That's the minimum.
Oh, I
for,
got you.
for his seniority. Yeah, that's a $3 million. And if he's not bought out, that would be $4 million, which is his current contract.
Here's a funny thing, Miroslav. I've always wondered how, like, the Nuggets have just been getting good in the 10 years that I've been covering them. And a lot of people have said, rose-colored glasses. I've said, no, man, it's linear, and every year we're right. When we get to a point where things feel like they're going down, how will I react to that? How will I react? And honestly, my sincere thought is, last 2 years, I thought the Nuggets were the best team. I don't think that anymore. But the one thing I'm surprised on, and it's like my true, honest opinion, and I hope I'm not just being hopeful, I am so freaking intrigued by what Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic would look like together. The more I think about it, the more I go, there's something there, though. There's something there. So I'm intrigued, but I don't really want to give a grade on this because I would probably say like a +1 or something. Actually, I'd probably say +2. But with thought,
I'm going to force you to give a grade.
All right, +2. Let's do it. +2. But here's the thing: I think like 50% of the total options that happen here are a positive, and 50% are negative. So if it was a -2, it would not surprise me in the least. But I'm going to be optimistic and say I'm extremely curious what this looks like. And the piece about, and I want to clear something up. I'm going to clear it up on Wednesday's DNVR show. The whole part about Jokic demanding, or, he went out and told him, go get me Westbrook. I think this whole thing is...
You already did that yesterday because this is Thursday now.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Remember what you said?
Back to the future.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yourself, please.
To repeat myself from the other day, I just don't think every year, this was true of Tim Conley, it's true of everything. You present Nikola Jokic with, hey, we're looking at this guy. What do you think? That like, we like this guy. Is there anybody on the roster, that you think is hurting us or whatever? And you ask him those questions. And then, he's, to my understanding, and look, everybody has different sources, even our colleague, Harrison Wynn. So he has a little bit of a different perspective on it. And I don't think he's wrong. But what I have heard was he was presented with players that they were targeting, and he really liked Westbrook, which is different from him saying, go get me that guy. Like, that's the guy I want. It's just a little bit softer. And I think that's more in line with what Jokic sees in Westbrook. I don't think it's a thing where he demands that's what we're doing.
No, I mean, anyone would think that is a buffoon. I think that's...
Well, the Serbian tabloids have made it their headline. Nikola Jokic demands the Nuggets get Russell Westbrook.
The league MVP, Russell Westbrook.
We have too much power. That's really what that's the real takeaway from all of this, is that there's too much influence that has come from this nonsense. So Russell Westbrook. So man, as the official carrier of the vibes, this is a vibeless move. I hate this move.
Really? Are you sure?
Well, let me finish. As you know, the roller coaster that is every one of my answers.
Everyone buckle up. Here we go.
All right, hold on.
I hate Russell Westbrook. He's one of the villains of the NBA. He blocked Rocky. He should be banned from Ball Arena. I hate every time we see him. But I made a total about face with Boogie Cousins. I don't know why I can't do it with the Russell Westbrook.
One's bad.
It is, like you say, stylistically, there is something there which the Nuggets have not had a straight line driving force. I think we could see some really interesting potential with him coming in, his leadership, if you want to call it that. I mean, he's definitely a leader in that he demands leadership, or demands people listen to him. That could be good. That could be bad. I think we will be interested in it until he steals the last shot from Nikola Jokic and takes a terrible three. And then we'll be like, what the fuck were we thinking? Like, what are we doing? So in aggregate, it is most assuredly an upgrade over Reggie Jackson. It is a style that the Nuggets have not had. He is a former MVP. It is unquestionable that he is a quality basketball player. So I'm going to give this potential move that has not happened yet. I'm going to give it a 1. I'm going to give it a 1, but I think it has real 3
+1.
potential, but it also has, excuse me. I'm going to give it a +1. It has +3 potential. It has -3 potential.
I'm going to say +1. And part of this is how it plays out, right? Russ on a minimum, when you're desperate for talent and ball handling and athleticism and people who care about winning, you know, it's beyond beggars can't be choosers. I think it's actually closer to like insane to just be like, we're above that. Like, I don't think the Nuggets are right now. I think they could use some of what he brings to the table. I would be terrified of him closing games just because Denver has this established thing of what they do and how they like to do it. And in that sense, Russ can be a disruptor. He can also be a disruptor in very positive ways. And I think I'm curious about it, to be honest. I mean, how many paths are left to getting a little pop and a little talent off the bench? And maybe a guy who can have a positive effect on a Nuggets culture that I think is seemingly shockingly complacent at the moment. And maybe Russ is the right kind of jolt. I could also see him closing games and breaking shots and all of the above. But I think I think on a minimum, Russ is still a good basketball player. I'll go +1.
I think it's a bit unfair how we frame Reggie Jackson's contribution on court. I think he was actually really good last season. He was a guy playing on a $5 million contract, and he played as many minutes in the regular season as Jamal Murray by no fault of his own. He probably didn't want to play that many minutes. Michael Malone could have played him a bit less minutes if he played Jalen Pickett, but he didn't want to. So when you compare that to Russell Westbrook on a minimum, I think that's a +3. +3 because I don't know how you can get a more dynamic guy for a minimum contract than Russell Westbrook. Right. There's no guy that's as dynamic as Russell Westbrook on a minimum contract, and he's gonna give you probably like a 14, 6, and 5 in the regular season, which is pretty awesome for a minimum guy. I'm not sure how he's gonna fare in the playoffs, but we're so far away from that. We'll see what happens there. But I'm gonna give it a +3 because I think that's a slam dunk move on a minimum contract. So that adds up to 7. So that's 1.75 plus 1.75. So that rounds up to +2. We're off to flying colors on our bonus moves. And I have one more bonus move for you guys. And this is just spitballing. Like, I have no idea who the small ball 5 is going to be. I'm just going to say signing a small ball 5 whose name rhymes with Schmarich, whatever. You know, there's a lot of itches in the NBA, as our friend Matt Moore.
Is that Chimizi Metu? Hold on.
Yeah,
could be signing... like one of those European guys, maybe. I don't know. Like who knows? Who the hell knows?
It's gonna be hilarious. So, none of this
Vlaric. Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I just put some random numbers there. Oh, sorry. So Adam, adding a small ball 5 that can be a part of rotation above some other big guys, presumably. Like that's probably like a taxpayer mid-level guy there.
I'm going to say this move to me is a 1. It's low. It has a low. It's not as big as I think most people who are just excited to have someone there, in large part because I'm the last guy. I'm not really. I don't want to say I'm on Vlatko Island because I don't want to fully come to his defense. I just don't think his issues in Denver have fully been his own. I think that he is one of the guys that has been, again, sabotage is too hard of a word, but certainly not helped. And so part of me looks at this and goes, I like Vlatko. I think he's good. Doesn't really play that much. It never really has. I like Zeke. I think he could be good. Doesn't really play that much. Has never really had. Deron Holmes, I like. What are the odds he follows suit on that one? So I just look at it and I go, I like Šarić, who I'll have to get used to saying that way, Šarić. But if that turns out to be who it is. But I do look at this and just go, I think it's a mild upgrade and creates its own set of questions about somebody of those three guys who I like, Holmes, Chanchar, and Zeke. One of those guys is just never going to get a chance. And the other two are probably going to get bad chances. So I look at it and go, it's in one hand, out the other, but slightly more in one hand.
See, to me, I look at the backup five as I've been crying about it, ruining the show about it for some time. Most people I now think agree, not with me, but just with the concept that we needed a backup five. And to me, Šarić, should he be the guy, is somebody that's like, okay, you can play Vlatko and Šarić together. One can be the 4, one can be the 5. I look at Vlatko in this situation as their plan for the backup 5, truthfully, because it's not DeAndre Jordan, and if not him, then who? Zeke? I mean, so, and he's a guy that can space the floor because he can shoot the ball. That's another, if you look at the bench, if the bench is comprised of Westbrook, Strother, P. Watt, Šarić, and Vlatko.
If those guys play together, though, what's the difference? I mean, this is the bottom line for me is all of these guys. If you told me last year he was on the team and he played in Zeke's minutes, would those minutes have been good? I'd be like, no, he played on terrible lineups. Like he played on horrible combinations. So if you played the 5-man bench lineup again, I'd be like, I don't care. He's not good enough to carry that lineup. It would also be bad.
Yeah, but to me, it's like, I don't know. Like those two guys, if we look at, I'll explain this to you later, but there's a alignment called horns. And you can put the one guy in the corner and the other. Like there's just something like that specific style of player is such that you can play inside or outside with them, and they don't overlap in the way that you look at like, okay, how can Gobert and Cat ever play together? They're both the same. They're both 2 centers. There's just like some flexibility I see with 2 kind of positionless players like that is interesting to me. And I don't know. I just like the composition. Like that's just a big bench. Like everyone's just kind of big for their position in that setting. And so I look at that like that could be interesting defensively. That seems like very switchable. That seems like those guys are like pretty offensively minded, if not in a back to the back basket kind of way, like in sort of like a new jack space the floor kind of way. To me, it's like I actually really like this, and that's a player I've liked for a while. And he's punished us before. And it's an itch guy. We got another itch guy, so that those have like worked out for us. I like this. I would give this a 2 should this come to fruition. A +2.
+2. Thank you.
+1. I think it's better than not doing anything. I think it's a move that could maybe help you. You got to try. You got to try. It could end up being him and Vlatko. I don't know. I mean, I know that Otto and Harrison are quite eager to just see radically different lineups altogether. So it might be pointless to try to envision any of these guys in the rotation as it stands and exists. But I don't think it hurts to add a vet who, in the case of Šarić, a little bit of playmaking. Not Jokic level, but just maybe something different than pick and pop that no one cares about or is scared about. It's worth it. I don't think it's a game changer, but I think it would be. I think the fans would certainly prefer 2 moves here to 1 with just Russ.
I wanted to give this move a +2. I mean, if it would be Šarić, he looked amazing last night. He was really, really good. He was like Jokic light on the court, dishing assists from the top of the key, playing great on low block. He was really awesome. Of course, it's a FIBA competition. You have to take that into the account. But what Adam mentioned really pushed me back to +1 because I don't expect huge evolution from Michael Malone this season comparing to last season. Like, he has been evolving all these 9 seasons to the shape I think he thinks he should be, and the shape that took his team to the championship. Like, I don't expect him to significantly change his approach to coaching this team just to accommodate for wish for developing more. more young guys on the team. So this is why I think, even though a guy like Šarić is a really good addition, there are some defensive concerns there, but offensively he could be really good. I still think that impact is probably not more than a +1, which takes us to the average of +1 on this move as well. And since we had a +2 on Russell Westbrook and +1 on all the moves that actually happened, we could move from +1 to +4, which is, I don't know what to tell you guys.
There's just no way.
It
Yeah,
just shows how
impossible.
bad this math is. And
I don't co-sign the final score. I don't.
It sounded so much smarter in my head before we actually did.
I'm sure it did.
And
I'm
you know
sure
what?
it did.
Maybe next year, when I finish season 4 of Serbian Corner, by the way, this is the last episode of season 3, that will change. Yeah.
Episode 100?
Episode 100. I used to call these seasons from January 1st to December 31st because I'm European, but I'm changing it now because the season is officially over now, and what we are entering in a couple of days, presumably after all the moves are done, it's not going to be the off season, it's going to be the no season. So I'm going to use the no season to take a break in Greece, and for the next 3 weekends, you will not see my handsome face on the screen.
If you see Cal, will you tell him to do something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
If he's just reading a book,
Is he vacationing? What's going on?
just nudge him gently.
Yeah, what's he doing? Is he just drinking Orangina over and over and over like I did?
Yeah, okay. So that is all we prepared for you today, my dear listener. And please, for the love of God, take the word prepared very loosely. This was the last episode of season 3 of Serbian Corner. And I will be, you heard the break. So, Denver Nuggets trivia game show. I have notes I need to read. Denver Nuggets trivia game show episodes will be back in the last week of July. Expect furious battles for the title of 2024 Denver Nuggets Trivia Game Show Champion. I want to give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters at patreon.com/MiroslavCuk, and especially to my Sicko tier supporters, Peter Plummer and Daniel Lynch. Be well,
Hell yeah.
be safe, be nice to everybody, call your mom, and until next time, JaVale McGee.